The United States has issued a stark and unprecedented warning to India, sending shockwaves through diplomatic circles and financial markets alike. This isn't just another routine statement, it's a signal that the stakes are higher than ever before. If the upcoming Trump-Putin talks in Alaska fail to produce a breakthrough, India could soon find itself facing heavy tariffs on its exports to the US. The message is clear. The outcome of this summit could have direct and immediate consequences for India's economy. This move links a high-stakes US-Russia summit to India's economic future, putting billions of dollars in trade and millions of jobs at risk. Indian exporters, already navigating a complex global market, now face the added uncertainty of political decisions made far from home. President Trump is leveraging trade as a powerful tool to pressure both Russia and India, signaling that the fallout from a failed summit will not be contained to just two countries. The ripple effects could be felt across continents, impacting global supply chains and international alliances. For India, a nation proud of its independent foreign policy and growing global influence, this is a moment of reckoning. The government must now weigh its strategic interests against the very real threat to its economic stability and the livelihoods of millions. The threat of tariffs means India's economic fate now hinges on negotiations happening thousands of miles away, in rooms where its own voice may not be heard. The interconnectedness of today's world means that decisions made in Alaska could reverberate through Indian factories, ports, and markets. Tariffs would make Indian goods more expensive in the US, hurting both American consumers who rely on affordable imports and Indian exporters who depend on access to the world's largest market. The impact would be felt from bustling Indian cities to small towns across America. The message is clear. In today's interconnected world, distant diplomatic talks can have immediate, real-world consequences for ordinary people, businesses, and entire economies. No nation is truly isolated from the decisions of others. This is not just about economics, it's about power, alliances, and the new rules of global engagement. The balance of influence is shifting, and every move on the diplomatic chessboard matters more than ever. The world is watching closely as a single summit in Alaska could reshape the US-India relationship for years to come, setting the tone for a new era of international relations and economic cooperation, or confrontation. To truly grasp the gravity of this crisis, we need to step back and look at the bigger picture. The current standoff isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet or headlines in the news, it's about the shifting balance of power in a rapidly changing world. For years, US-India trade tensions have quietly simmered beneath the surface. Disputes over tariffs on everything from iconic Indian motorcycles to essential farm goods have created friction, with each side accusing the other of unfair practices. These disagreements have led to rounds of negotiations, retaliatory measures, and a growing sense of mistrust between two of the world's largest democracies. But then, the war in Ukraine erupted, sending shockwaves through the global order. Western sanctions on Russia have only made things more complicated, forcing countries to reconsider their alliances and economic strategies. The ripple effects of this conflict have reached far beyond Europe, impacting trade routes, energy supplies, and diplomatic relationships worldwide. In this new landscape, India's growing trade with Russia, especially in the energy sector, has drawn sharp scrutiny from Washington. As India increases its imports of Russian oil, US officials worry about the potential for sanctions evasion and the weakening of their own leverage over Moscow. Against this backdrop, the Alaska summit emerges as a pivotal moment. Former President Trump is making a bold move, seeking a grand bargain with Putin. But this isn't just about the US and Russia. India is now a crucial piece on the chessboard, a potential lever in high-stakes negotiations. By threatening new tariffs, the US is ramping up the pressure, not just on Moscow but on New Delhi as well. What began as a bilateral trade dispute has now escalated into a global chess match, with each move carefully calculated to shift the balance of power. India finds itself in a delicate position, caught between its deepening strategic partnership with the United States and its long-standing historic ties to Russia. Every decision carries risks, and every gesture is scrutinized by both allies and rivals. The warning over tariffs is more than just a trade issue. It's a diplomatic test of India's ability to navigate the complex, high-stakes world of 21st century geopolitics. The choices made now will echo for decades, shaping India's role on the world stage. The stakes could not be higher. The outcome of these negotiations will determine not only the future of trade, but also the alliances and rivalries that will define global politics for years to come. As the world watches, the tension builds. Everyone is waiting to see who will blink first, and what the consequences will be for the world order. Why target India? 2 words: Russian oil. Since the Ukraine war, India has become one of Russia's top oil buyers, lured by steep discounts. This shift has undermined Western sanctions, providing Moscow with a vital financial lifeline. The US sees India's purchases as a loophole that weakens global pressure on Russia. Washington's message: strategic partners must align their economic actions with Western goals. India's sheer scale as the world's 3rd largest oil importer makes its choices impossible to ignore. The US believes that pressuring India to cut Russian oil would deal a major blow to Moscow. That's why India is now at the center of this geopolitical storm. It's not personal, it's about the global impact of India's decisions. The world's energy markets and the fate of the Ukraine conflict hang in the balance. For India, the decision to buy Russian oil is driven by economic necessity, not by political alignment or ideology. In a world where energy prices are volatile and global supply chains are under strain, India must prioritize the needs of its people and its economy above all else. With a population exceeding 1.4 billion, India's demand for affordable energy is immense. Reliable and reasonably priced fuel is essential for everything from transportation and manufacturing to daily household needs. It powers the growth of cities, supports rural communities, and ensures that families can cook meals and children can get to school. Discounted Russian oil has become a crucial tool for India to keep inflation in check and maintain economic momentum. Lower energy costs help keep food and transportation prices stable, protect jobs, and allow businesses to thrive, even in uncertain times. Indian officials point out that they are being unfairly criticized for their energy choices, especially when many Western countries have also continued some forms of trade with Russia. They argue that the scrutiny is selective and does not reflect the complexities of global trade. India maintains that its foreign policy is shaped by its own national interests and the well-being of its citizens, not by external pressure or international expectations. The government insists on the right to make independent decisions in a rapidly changing world. The relationship between India and Russia is long-standing and multifaceted, built over decades of cooperation in energy, defense, and technology. This partnership has weathered many global shifts and remains vital to India's strategic interests. While India consistently calls for dialogue and a peaceful resolution to the conflict in Ukraine, it is clear that the country will not jeopardize its own economic security or compromise the welfare of its people for the sake of international approval. Many in India view the US demand to cut Russian oil imports as a double standard, especially given the West's own complex trade relationships. This perception only strengthens India's resolve to stand firm and protect its interests. For New Delhi, the issue is about more than just oil. It's about fairness, sovereignty, and the fundamental right to make choices that serve the nation's best interests, free from undue external influence. The threat of tariffs is seen not only as a geopolitical challenge, but also as a test of India's independence on the world stage. How India responds will shape its future relationships and its role in the global order. The Alaska summit is now the world's focal point. Trump seeks a breakthrough, an end to the Ukraine war, new arms deals, and a win for his diplomatic style. Putin wants sanctions relief and a restored global role. The US threat to India is part of Trump's high-pressure tactics. For India, the summit's outcome is critical. A deal could lift the tariff threat, while failure could trigger a trade war. If talks succeed, India escapes economic fallout and US-India ties stabilize. If talks collapse, Trump may impose harsh tariffs, risking a major rift. India could retaliate, escalating into a damaging trade conflict. The summit's result will ripple far beyond Alaska, shaping global alliances and economies. The world holds its breath as leaders meet in the Arctic. India's main argument is fairness. Other US allies, especially in Europe, have also maintained some trade with Russia, often securing exemptions for critical goods. Even US companies have continued limited transactions in sectors like agriculture and medicine. India feels it's being held to a higher standard, despite its vast and growing energy needs. A sudden halt to Russian oil would hit India's economy hard, pushing millions into hardship. The US, India argues, is ignoring these realities and focusing only on geopolitics. India sees itself as unfairly singled out, while others quietly bend the rules. This sense of injustice has become a matter of national pride. For India, It's no longer just about oil, it's about being treated as an equal partner. If the Alaska talks fail, the US could swiftly impose steep tariffs on Indian goods. Likely targets textiles, IT services, pharmaceuticals, auto parts, sectors vital to India's economy. The impact would be immediate lost orders, factory slowdowns, job losses, and a falling rupee. The Indian government would face pressure to retaliate, risking a tit-for-tat trade war. American consumers would also pay the price, with higher costs for everyday goods. US companies relying on Indian suppliers would see profits squeezed. A trade war would damage the US-India partnership, undermining years of strategic cooperation. The fallout could extend across Asia, disrupting supply chains and alliances. Both sides would lose, but the global economy could suffer most. It's a high-risk gamble with no easy winners. The world would feel the shockwaves. India is walking a diplomatic tightrope. It can't afford to alienate the US, its top trading partner and key ally. But it also can't abandon Russia, a crucial defense supplier and historic friend. Cutting ties with Moscow would create security risks for India. India's strategy: balance both relationships, maintain autonomy, and avoid taking sides. Diplomats are working to find compromise, perhaps by capping Russian oil imports or diversifying energy sources. India wants to show it's a responsible partner, but one with unique challenges. Every move is scrutinized in Washington and Moscow. The US warning has forced India into a corner, testing its diplomatic skill and resolve. The outcome will define India's role in a polarized world. The future hinges on the Alaska summit. A deal could restore US-India cooperation and offer lessons about the new realities of global power. Failure could spark a damaging trade war, pushing India to seek new partners and reshaping alliances. This crisis highlights a shift. Alliances are now more fluid and transactional. Nations like India must navigate competing pressures, balancing economic needs with strategic goals. The challenge is immense, but so is the opportunity to assert independence on the world stage. This is about more than tariffs. It's about the changing nature of power and partnership. Economic interdependence is now both a bridge and a weapon. The choices made in the coming days will echo across the globe. The world is watching as a new chapter in global politics unfolds.